Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cutting through some of the noise to get you really informed on what's next in AI.
And it's moving fast.
It really is. And what's next right now is pretty exciting. Runway Act 2, this isn't just, another small update. People are hailing it as the next generation of AI video generation. So our mission in this deep dive is simple, really. We're going to unpack the key capabilities, get into the nitty-gritty technical features, and talk about the implications, the big picture stuff of this model. It promises to turn text and images, too, into, well, astonishingly realistic video.
Yeah, the realism is getting quite striking.
We've gone through a pretty detailed report on Act 2, so think of this as your fast track, your shortcut to understanding this significant development in generative AI.
It's definitely a step up. Consider it the successor to Runway's Gen 2 model.
Right. Designed to really push the boundaries.
Yeah.
We're talking fidelity, motion coherence, scene control.
Exactly. It's putting itself in the ring with the other big foundational models people are talking about. OpenAI, Sora, Google VO, Pika Labs.
It's a crowded field all of a sudden.
It really is. But yeah, at its core, Act 2 is designed to generate these high-quality, realistic videos.
Yeah.
You feed it a text prompt, or maybe a still image.
Or even a video clip.
Or even a short video clip. Yeah, if you want to restylize it, you give it the input, and it gets to work creating the video.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. You
What?
say a major leap. Now, I think a lot of us have seen earlier AI video attempts that could be a little, well, a bit janky, maybe
Yeah.
unpredictable.
Yeah, janky's a good word for some of the earlier stuff.
So what does this leak actually mean for you listening right now? What's different in the video you'll see? How is Act 2 really pushing the envelope, technically speaking?
I think it's about moving from just, moving pictures towards something more like cinematic experiences. That's the goal, anyway. The biggest differences you'll notice are really in the quality and the control you get. We're talking vastly improved temporal consistency.
Yeah.
Meaning the video flows much more smoothly. You don't get those weird glitches or morphing distortions nearly as much as you did with older models. Things stay consistent over time.
Okay. That makes sense.
Plus, the output's higher resolution, the frame rates are better, so it looks smoother, and the photorealism, it's getting remarkably close to actual camera footage in some cases.
Wow.
And this is crucial, it gives creators new tools for advanced camera movements. Think about things like pans.
Sweeping side to side?
Right, or tilts, moving up and down, and dolly shots where the whole camera seems to move through the scene forwards or backwards.
Stuff that makes it feel like actual cinematography.
Exactly. And it seems to have a much better grasp of lighting and scene depth, too. It makes the visuals feel more three-dimensional, more immersive.
Okay, so let's dive into those specifics. What are the key technical innovations here?
Well, number one, as I mentioned, is that improved motion consistency. This is what gets rid of, or at least drastically reduces, those jittery or sometimes rubbery-looking transitions or movements that plagued earlier AI video.
Right, where things kind of warp unnaturally.
Precisely. Act 2 aims for fluid, natural motion, almost like a skilled camera operator was involved. And it supports those dynamic camera movements we talked about. You can actually specify complex pans, tilts, dolly zooms right in your text prompt.
You just type it in.
You type it in, yeah. And the AI tries to execute it with, honestly, surprising fidelity sometimes.
That's pretty wild. What else?
Another big one is longer and higher quality clips. Now, longer is relative here.
Okay.
Previous models often struggled to maintain coherence beyond a couple of seconds. Act 2 can reliably output clips from about 4 seconds up to maybe 10 seconds.
10 seconds max currently.
Around 10 seconds per generation, yeah. But at a smooth 24 to 30 frames per second, and importantly, in crisp 1080p resolution.
That's a decent bump in quality and length.
It is, and the expectation, of course, is that future updates will push that duration longer, or creators can just stitch multiple clips together pretty seamlessly now.
That's a huge step up. My first thought with 10 seconds was, is that really enough? But then you think about commercials, trailers, social media. A lot can happen in 10 seconds of a well-edited sequence.
Absolutely.
So you're saying not just generating single shots, but actual sequences, because that changes everything for telling a story.
It absolutely does. And that leads to perhaps one of the most critical features for anyone trying to create something narrative, multi-shot video sequences.
Okay, tell me more.
This means you can generate several different shots, maybe different angles or moments in a scene, but maintain stylistic and narrative continuity between them.
So the character looks the same, the setting stays consistent, the lighting style.
Exactly. The goal is consistency across shots. Imagine building out a whole scene or even like a mini film, shot by shot, and having the look and feel, the characters, the environment all hang together. That capability is genuinely transformative for AI filmmaking.
Yeah, I can see that. That's moving beyond just cool tech demos.
Right. And then there's the fine-grained control. Users can get really specific with the art direction in their prompts.
Give me an example.
Things like analog film aesthetic or dreamlike neon-lit street at night, or even technical stuff like cinematic look with shallow depth of field.
So you can really dial in a specific visual style.
You can try, yeah. It gives creators much more precision. You're essentially trying to put the director's vision or the cinematographer's eye into the AI's hands via the prompt.
And the inputs it takes. We said text, images.
Yep, text to video is the main one, image to video where you provide a starting picture, and video to video, which is interesting for taking an existing clip and like reimagining it in a different style.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. We've talked tech specs, impressive stuff, but what blows my mind is thinking about the creative potential this unlocks. Can you give us a concrete example, maybe a scenario where Act 2 genuinely changes the game for a creator today? How are people actually using this power?
Oh, the practical uses are already becoming clear, and they're pretty vast and impactful. For filmmaking and storyboarding, for instance.
How so?
Directors, creators, they can use Act 2 for really rapid pre-visualization. Instead of static drawings, you get animated clips for your storyboard. Or you could even generate entire experimental short films without needing actors or sets or, expensive traditional CGI.
So it lowers the barrier to entry for visual storytelling.
Massively. Think about independent filmmakers, people working with tight budgets. This starts to democratize access to tools that can produce professional-looking visuals.
Okay, that's huge for indie film.
Yeah.
What about other creative fields?
Well, for creative ideation in general, an artist, maybe a musician or an ad agency, can quickly prototype concepts. Got an idea for a music video, or a commercial, or a movie trailer? You can mock it up from just a simple concept or script.
Speeding up that brainstorming phase.
Exponentially, yeah. It lets you try out more ideas visually with less upfront investment and risk.
And thinking beyond just the traditional creative industries, what about businesses? Is there an advantage here over standard video production that's maybe not just about saving money? Are there things Act 2 enables that just weren't really feasible before?
That's a great question. It does go beyond just cost savings. For marketing and product demos, think about it. Brands can create these hyper-specific, high-quality AI videos showcasing products, or maybe more interestingly, conceptual scenes.
Like things that don't exist yet.
Exactly. Imagine visualizing a new architectural design, bringing the blueprint to life in a video walkthrough, or showing a complex industrial process in action really clearly before the factory is even built. That was hard or very expensive before.
Okay, I see. Visualizing the unbuilt or the complex.
Right. And in education and training, too. You can easily create illustrative video content for online courses, for e-learning modules, or even generate scenarios for simulations. It makes abstract concepts much more engaging, more understandable, without needing a full animation studio or a film crew. It's about bringing ideas to life visually and doing it efficiently at scale.
Okay, so it's clear Act 2 is a serious piece of tech with wide applications. But as you mentioned, it's entering a space with other heavy hitters. What does this all mean for the broader AI video landscape? How does Act 2 actually stack up against competitors like Sora, Veo, and Pika?
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how Runway Act 2 is carving out its niche here. It's a rapidly evolving field. So if we do a quick comparison based on what we know, let's start with max duration.
Right, how long can the clips be?
Act 2 is currently around that 10-second mark, as we said. OpenAI's Sura, that's the one making waves, can apparently do up to 60 seconds.
A whole minute, wow.
Yeah, potentially. Google Veo is reportedly around 20 seconds, and Pika Labs is typically shorter, maybe around 4 seconds per generation. So Act 2 is kind of in the middle duration-wise for now.
Okay, what about video resolution? Quality?
Act 2 outputs up to 1080p, which is pretty good, high definition. That puts it right alongside Sora and Veo, which also hit 1080p. Sora might even go a bit higher in some cases. Pika currently seems to max out around 720p.
Got it. So Act 2 is competitive on resolution.
Definitely.
And what about the nuances, like the types of inputs they accept and the level of control creators get? That seems crucial.
Good distinction. So input types. Act 2, as we covered, takes text, image, and video clips for that restyling purpose. Pretty comprehensive.
Okay.
Sora takes text and image, but also, interestingly, depth maps.
Depth maps, like 3D scene information?
Essentially, yeah. The information about how far away objects are in a scene. That potentially allows for a more accurate understanding of 3D space and physics. VO takes text, image, and also masks, which let users kind of isolate specific parts of the image or video for the AI to focus on or change.
Interesting control mechanism.
And Pika primarily uses text and image inputs, so slightly different approaches there.
And the style control. How much can you dictate the look?
This is a bit subjective, but based on reports and demos, Act 2 is generally rated as having high style control, allowing for that specific art direction we talked about.
Right, the analog film example.
Exactly. Sora is often described as very high, particularly noted for its grasp of 3D consistency and even simulating some physics. VO also gets a very high rating, often highlighted for achieving really cinematic looks. Pika is generally considered medium in comparison on this front.
So Act 2 is strong on style control, but maybe Sora and VO are pushing that boundary even further in specific ways.
That seems to be the current assessment, yeah.
Okay. And finally, the big question for anyone listening who wants to try these tools, availability. Because let's be honest, amazing tech is only useful if you can actually get your hands on it. Where does the rubber meet the road here?
Absolutely critical point. And here, things are still quite restricted for the top tier. Act 2, as of mid-2025, is in a private beta. You have to request access, Sora. Still in a closed research preview, not publicly accessible at all, really. VO is on a private waitlist system.
So also limited.
Very. Pika Labs is probably the most accessible of this group right now. It's technically public, but often still has a waitlist.
Right.
So yeah. While Act 2 has these impressive features, it's competing in a space where access is still a major bottleneck for almost all the leading models. You can't just download it and start playing for the most part.
That comparison really puts Act 2 into perspective. It's definitely a major player holding its own in this race. But, as we always say, no technology is perfect. With great power comes, well, usually a few glitches, maybe some limitations, and definitely a lot of questions.
That's very true, even with these big leaps forward.
So let's talk about where Act 2, even in its advanced state, still hits some boundaries. What are the current limitations?
Well, we've touched on some already. The temporal length is still a key one, that cap of around 10 seconds maximum per generated clip.
Right. Means more work for longer videos.
Exactly. For any kind of extended narrative, you're still going to need manual editing, stitching clips together, though the tools for doing that are getting better too.
Okay, but
Also, while it's much better at understanding prompts, really rare or highly abstract concepts can still sometimes result in distorted or weird visuals. It works best with concepts it's seen a lot of data for.
Makes sense. It can't invent things it has no reference for.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then there are the fine details. Things like hands, faces, getting the physics of complex interactions just right. While vastly improved, the official line is still that they are not perfect.
The uncanny valley still lurks sometimes.
It can, yeah. Getting those really subtle human expressions or the precise way fabric folds or how things collide realistically, that remains a huge challenge for all these models. It's getting better incredibly fast, but perfection is still a way off.
And that lack of perfection, combined with the increasing realism, leads to bigger questions, doesn't it?
It really does. It raises that important and difficult question that the whole industry is grappling with, the ethical side. And copyright concerns too, especially around generations that might resemble existing styles or, more worryingly, could be used for deepfake-like purposes.
A massive point. When we talk about generating incredibly realistic video, what are the specific challenges Runway or frankly any of these companies are facing as they try to manage the potential misuse? I mean, how do you build safeguards for something this powerful?
It's a really tough, multifaceted challenge. On one side, you've got this explosion of creative potential, which is amazing. On the other, you have the undeniable risk of synthetic media being used maliciously for disinformation, fraud, harassment, you name it, or just to fundamentally misrepresent reality in confusing ways.
So what are they doing about it? Or what can they do?
Well, the industry is actively exploring several avenues. Things like reliable watermarking techniques so you can tell if content is AI generated. Developing better detection tools. Implementing really robust content moderation policies, deciding what kinds of prompts or outputs are simply not allowed.
Like generating harmful content or non-consensual images.
Exactly. It's about trying to build in safeguards and transparency right from the start, from the model training up through the user interface. But honestly, it's an ongoing, complex conversation with no easy answers yet. It really needs collaboration between the tech companies, policymakers, artists, ethicists, the whole community.
It sounds like the technology is maybe advancing faster than our ability to fully figure out the rules of the road.
That's often the case with foundational AI breakthroughs, yeah.
And just to reiterate for listeners curious about access, you mentioned Act 2 is in private beta. People can request access through Runway's official website, right?
That's correct. And the expectation is that eventually it'll be integrated into their paid tiers, like the creator plan, or maybe specific enterprise offerings.
Okay. So let's zoom out again, connect this back to the bigger picture. What does the arrival of Runway Act 2 really mean strategically for the industry, for creators, for Runway itself?
I think it has significant strategic impact, definitely beyond just the feature list. For creators and studios, as we've discussed, it's a potential game changer. It enables much lower budget filmmaking, but potentially with really high cinematic quality output.
Democratizing those pro tools.
Right. But the deeper insight there isn't just about making things cheaper, it's about fundamentally changing where the creative bottleneck lies. It potentially shifts the focus away from needing deep technical skill in cinematography or CGI towards pure conceptual imagination and storytelling ability.
Interesting. So it might unleash creativity from people who didn't have the technical means before.
That's the hope, I think. It could unleash a wave of really unique narratives, maybe from voices or perspectives that were previously shut out by the high costs and logistical hurdles of traditional production.
And what about for Runway as a company? Where does this place them?
Well, it positions them squarely as a major frontrunner in this incredibly competitive Gen AI video race. They're going head-to-head with giants like OpenAI and Google. Act 2 serves as a powerful platform, potentially a foundational layer, for a really diverse range of users, big studios, advertisers, individual YouTubers, VFX artists.
So it solidifies their position as a key player in the AI creative stack.
I think that's exactly right. They're aiming to be more than just a tool. They're aiming to be a platform.
So summing up then, what we're really seeing with Runway Act 2 is it feels like a clear signal of a pretty profound shift. We're moving beyond just generating simple short video clips towards enabling structured visual storytelling, all powered by AI.
Structured storytelling is a good way to put it.
It feels like it's bridging that gap between, static creativity and image and idea and dynamic cinematic realism. It's offering us a really compelling glimpse into a future where generative video might actually rival human production, certainly in speed and maybe increasingly in style and quality, too.
It definitely redefines what might be possible for creators at all levels.
And the anticipation for future updates must be huge.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's watching closely. We expect to see, hopefully soon, things like extended clip durations beyond that 10-second mark, maybe seamless integration of AI-generated voice and sound effects, and even further improvements in maintaining consistency across longer scenes or multiple sequences.
Those would be game changers all over again.
They really would. Each step pushes the boundaries further.
So let's leave our listeners with a final thought. Imagine this future, maybe not even that far off, where entire short films or virtual influencers with ongoing video diaries or even complex video game cutscenes are created entirely without a traditional camera, without a physical set, without a human crew in the traditional sense.
It's a powerful thought experiment.
What does that future mean for creativity itself? What happens to existing job roles in film and media production? How does the very definition of film production change? And maybe most excitingly, what completely new kinds of stories will get told when the tools of creation are democratized on this kind of scale? When the main limit isn't the budget or the gear, but really just the power of your imagination.
Yeah. What happens when storytelling is primarily constrained by imagination, not execution?
Something definitely to think about as you watch the incredible path generative AI continues to carve out.